One of the reasons I'm sharing with this, you've heard me talk on this scene before, because I think this person that Kushner points to and that I often am fascinated with, he looks at the life of Jacob in the Old Testament to give us an idea of how he and we can use that model to struggle through, to do the right thing with conscience and success. In my opinion, Jacob is probably the most fascinating figure in the Old Testament. I mean, I know we talk about Abraham and Moses and all these people, but in Jacob you see somebody like us, truly. He was a remarkable man. After a difficult pregnancy, Jacob's mother Rebekah gave birth to twins, as we all know. Esau was older by just a few minutes, and he was, as the Bible says, coarse and brutish, and a kind of macho character. And he was a tiller of the soil, a farmer. Jacob, by contrast, was quiet and contemplative and sort of reserved. But we all probably know that there was a more deceptive side to Jacob too, and that's where we want to begin. He was born holding on to his brother's heel. Ekev is the Hebrew word that's used, A-K-E-V. So he was born trying to hold his brother back, hold on to him, maybe take his things. And so from the beginning of his life, Jacob was seen as a heel grabber, a tripper-upper. He was trying to trip up people, a manipulator, a trickster. That's Jacob, one of the greatest figures in the Bible. So Jacob, one of the first things you remember of Jacob, he trades a bowl of soup for Esau's birthright. He tricked his father into knowing who he was, got his brother's birthright, and so his father gave him most of the property and the assets and all that. And once a blessing is given, it can't be taken back. So if the father blessed him, that's it. You get everything there. And then he went on to deceive his father again a second time to get him to give a special blessing on him rather than Esau. The two of them went very closely together. Now, out of this intrigue, Jacob flees when his brother and those catch on to him. He flees to his uncle Laban's home in another country. And around the same time, he slowly, I guess he was a young man, he's slowly beginning to come to his senses and wonder if I could continue this kind of trickster, deceiving life. I guess you can say he got kicked out of his father's home. So he went to his uncle's home. He begins to see and feel this split in his soul, so to speak. He begins to look carefully at his conniving, cheating, I guess Bahamians would say, no good ways. And he begins to wonder, he's beginning to struggle now, what kind of, if I'm going through life doing this all my life, or I'm going to change this. We know well the story where on the first night of his journey, he lies down in the desert sands and dreams of a ladder reaching from earth to heaven. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I didn't know it. So maybe say, surely the Lord is with me in my life, in my circumstance, but I've been living without the Lord. Surely the Lord, and so he begins to have this thing of, if you wish, heaven reaching down to earth, the Spirit trying to touch his human ways. The ladder between heaven and earth. It's a ladder which represents the distance between the manipulative Joseph, as he is, Jacob rather, as he is. If I say Joseph, you know I mean to say Jacob, right? And the spiritually mature Jacob, as he's now aspiring to become. So he's struggling with this thing between success at any cost, if I have to cheat, steal, deceive, and conscience, doing it the right way, no matter how long it takes. When Jacob enters Laban's territory, he falls immediately in love with his cousin Rachel, Laban's daughter. He wants to marry her, but lack of money to pay the price for her wasn't there, which was a custom then, a dower right. So Jacob agrees to work 7 years for Laban at no pay whatsoever to get Rachel's hand. On the wedding night, we know that Laban substitutes Leah, his older, less attractive daughter, for Rachel. Later, Laban tells Jacob that he must now promise to work another 7 years before he could get Rachel. So he worked 14 straight years without pay to gain the love of his life. He used to be the trickster, but now a trick has been played on him. Big time. I think he's beginning to get this lesson, don't you think? That, I don't know, other people could play this trick too. So his father-in-law tricked him and took advantage of him. The same way Jacob used to take advantage of his brother and family before that. Nonetheless, during those years, those wilderness years, Jacob prospered economically, as bad as it was. Eventually, he leaves Laban, takes his family and flock, and returns home. He wants to go home to make up for the wrong he had done to his brother and family. And you know, he sent all his flocks and children. There's a marvelous story in Genesis ahead of him to kind of soften up his father. So, well, if I send him, they see how successful I am, you know, he'll kind of take me back and consider me. And he stays on the far side of the river overnight. And that's the time when he has, and sometimes people mix up these two incidents. The one with the first one, the ladder reaching heaven, and the second one where he wrestles with the angel. This is the point he wrestles with the angel. Because his personality, he's still struggling about what kind of person he's going to be. Now, people have given all sorts of things who this person was. He struggled with all night and he struck his hip. You know all that saying. So we have the kink in our hip. But many believe that the attacker was his conscience, was himself. He got attacked by his own conscience. What kind of person is he going to be? Is he going to be one of cleverness and manipulation, or is he going to be a noble man? Anyway, that experience changed his life for the better. He changes to become an entirely different person. Sometimes his base impulses, all through life, man, he struggles with these two sides. But eventually, the better side will prevail. At other times, he will heed the voice of God. But over a period of time, Jacob becomes a man of true integrity. So much so that his name was changed from trickster to a different word that has to do with the establishment of the state of Israel. So when the Jews look for whose character they follow, they look at this man Jacob, as well as Abraham and the others. But it's this man who has the name Israel.